Welcome to the Learning Pro Live. My name's Cath and I'm so excited to be back. It's been a great weekend. I'm relaxed and we've got a week full of an amazing lineup of guests for you. I've got a very special guest here that I can't wait to introduce. Let me bring him onto the screen. We have got Mudassir Nagaria.
Woo!
I'm so excited to have you here, Mudassir, because we've just met. We only met a couple of weeks ago, and I think we've got a lot in common. So we are going to be talking today about how to tips on marketing new courses, and it's something that we're going to have different perspectives because, of course, you are internal, you work internally in a company, and I'm a freelancer. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Absolutely. Thank you, Cath. So, of course, guys, my name is Mudassir. I work currently in Dubai, work for a large airline, and I also do a little bit of dabbling on the side with freelance stuff. So I'm getting my foot in there, and it's really exciting because a lot of that awesome work, honestly, Cath, you've kind of inspired that. Like, I feel like, just watching a lot of your content and like sort of the guest speakers, it got me thinking, hey, what am I doing? So, it's pretty cool. And I think my origin story goes back to a bit of marketing. That's kind of where my journey started. So I'm really excited to talk about, how to market courses because it matters.
Right. Well, we've got a few people tuned in. So guys, don't be shy. Get involved. Tell us, where are you tuning in from? We'd love to know. And are you interested in this topic? And what are you interested in learning? Because you've got two different perspectives here, and you're going to have us for probably about an hour. So let us know where you're tuning in from, what you do, and what you're interested in. Mudassir, where do you work? Tell us. You want to tell us. You don't need to.
Well, I work for a very, very large airline, how I put it that way. And it's out of Dubai, so there's only one. I'm going to let people connect the dots on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's, it must be a massive workload that you've got, and very challenging times right now as well with COVID-19. So what's happened with regards to L&D in the travel industry right now?
Well, I think it's really, really interesting because one of sort of the major changes that happened was you now had an increase in digital. Like all of a sudden you had all eyes on digital. Everyone wanted to know how can we transform, how can we change what we're currently offering into a model which could be scalable, and essentially everyone sitting in their houses could be able to access it. So I think that was the most surprising thing. A lot of people that were resistant to that before, a lot of people that didn't want, online, or didn't want it to be blended and just wanted to be in person, realized that, hey, this is possible and completely doable.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest change, and especially because a lot when it comes to airlines, you have people that want to do it in person. So you want to do a lot of customer service training in person. You want to do sales training in person. You want to do a lot of those sort of big ticket items, and even regulatory. A lot of things that people think about when they think about regulatory is it has to be in classroom. But one thing that COVID proved everyone wrong was that, hey, everything, and I mean, like, there's nothing that's off limits. Everything's doable online.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's certainly been a very busy time for me. I've been getting lots of people reaching out to me. There's an urgency for content, and I can only imagine that, this is exactly the same as kind of what's happening with you. While some areas of the business are slowing down, you're busier than ever. We've got a young man from Kyle who's saying, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I went from 15 years of freelance to corporate for the last 3 years. They were my freelance client first and brought me on full-time to keep making creative solutions. Cool. Well, yeah, we know US. Brilliant to have you here, Kyle. We're going to be talking in a minute about, obviously marketing new courses. So hopefully you'll get a lot out of it. And we've got a fellow Aussie, James. He says, designing learning experiences is not that different to writing, marketing, content. We're all in the business of influencing, changing behavior, and every learning product needs good marketing campaign. Couldn't agree more. And this is something that we both were quite passionate about, James, when we were chatting about, yeah, you know, this is something that some of us are doing, but not everyone is doing. Courses are just being released. And that is such a great opportunity to do something really exciting, to get people, you know, to put whole campaigns in to get people thinking a little bit differently about things. So
then our voice is heard. I feel like with learning, our voices are only heard when people want a training. But I feel that, you know, that is a golden opportunity when you've got something that's awesome, that's going to be rolled out, you know, across, say, multiple teams. That's your golden opportunity to, you know, make sure that you've got that right branding in place, so that obviously you're talking about what people need to know, but also a little bit more. Like, I feel like those are completely lost opportunities when people just have one email that goes out saying, hey, you know, this is important. Everyone needs to do it by Wednesday. You know,
yeah,
it's a wasted
absolutely.
opportunity. Wasted.
Like I'll do things like if I'm building, for example, a course, I might build a trailer to go along with it that can be played around the business, you know. You know, we were talking before about the show. We were really trying to get people to think outside the box and to not bring you know, some of those things, especially the budget options, they really didn't need to be courses. And that's what we were craving to see, you know, examples that weren't, you know, screensavers and all kinds of different social media marketing campaigns. And it was great what was put together, you know. So yeah, you know, it'll be interesting to see kind of some of the things that you've been doing. I mean, mine are probably, I feel, a little bit generic, you know, not being inside the business. There's so much that I can influence new companies to do, you know, especially if it's not in their culture. It's quite difficult. I can get it across the line a lot, but not all the time. So tell me a little bit about some of your strategies and what they do at this, you know, we will not tell, you know, airline that you work for.
Right. I think when it comes to sort of and how we plan on, you know, creating buzz and excitement about it, there's a couple of things that we look at. So one thing is learner persona. So that's something that we identify super early on when we're looking at the analysis.
Yeah.
And you know, I think the cool part about what I do is that, you know, I try and get involved with when I'm talking to my stakeholders and SMEs to really understand who the actual person is that's going to do this course. And I'm not talking about the manager who's going to sign off. I'm talking about the guy who's going to be like, you know, walking across the airport. I'm talking like who's actually doing the course, because I think I'm more interested to appeal to them. So once I've really identified who that learner persona is, and I know it sounds like a buzzword when we say persona, but what I'm really just saying when I say persona is how are they going to learn? You know, what kind of access do they have? Is it something that, you know, matters to them? Even when it comes to something as simple as language. You might know Dubai, similar to Melbourne or any other major city, super cosmopolitan. So, you
Yeah.
know, if we've got language as an issue, then, you know, we want to make sure that, you know, we cater for that and we address it. So, you know, those kind of things. So really building that learner persona. And once we know that, then we know exactly the kind of learner journey that we need to put them on. And, you know, that fits right into something that you mentioned earlier, like trailers. You know, that fits into the learner journey. So, you know, and sometimes emails work. So, you know, we get an emailer out saying, you know, here's a little teaser video about what's going to come. And then, of course, you know, we try and link in the learning objective. Absolutely. Thanks, James. Yeah. Sorry, Cath, I'm taking your thing. I'm talking about the comments.
It's all good. I just brought him in to just reinforce what you're saying. So keep going. It's all good.
Yeah. So James, spot on. So, you know, we do that. We bring in trailers, we bring in little infographics, anything that you can do that, you know, is quick, fun, and also it's kind of like we kind of enjoy making it too. You know, it's not something tedious or complicated.
Yeah. And I think something that I've started doing now is when I actually do a quote with a client, I talk about it right in the beginning. Is this a service you'd like me to do? Is this something that you're used to doing? No? Okay, I'll factor it in. You know, it's just
Mm.
something that is leading, it's starting to just become the norm, you know, whether They don't do evaluations, and I'm pushing that through. It's actually, can I do you up posters? Can I do you up digital badges? Can I do you up all of these different assets? Things that you can share on your intranet, all these different kind of tools. And I'll basically kind of talk about things like that as I'm going through the build. I'll say, well, I can, I'm thinking about how I can utilize some parts of the courses so it looks like it's a streamlined product, giving them
Absolutely.
everything in vectors. If they want to, if they're like, no, we don't want we don't need you to build that. I always say, well, let me give you some assets just in case you do want to do some advertising, because I think they do advertise, but they don't realize that they're actually advertising it because they're L&D. They're just not thinking that way.
You've hit the nail on the head. I think when people think about marketing and when they think about learning and development, what James said early on is quite spot on. Like, I mean, marketing takes conscious effort to, build engagement and build that connection with you before you've even experienced the product. And I feel where L&D kind of fails is that we don't create that engagement, we don't create that excitement, and it's not to put a blanket statement, but I feel that there's always big room for improvement, especially when it comes to L&D.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Like, I'm
Yeah,
thinking
it's very,
just the fact that,
no, I was
sorry.
just going to say, it's a very interesting cohort that you often find in L&D, so sorry I interrupted you. What I
No,
said, go
no,
ahead.
it's fine because I'm thinking back to the conference that you mentioned, right? So absolutely, like if you think about the conference, people don't understand, but when you create awareness, when you talk about, hey, these are the awesome things that these awesome speakers are going to talk about, we're marketing. We're doing that. It's as simple as that. And when you dial that down and you convert that to what we do with our courses, we've got to try and match that a little bit as well. So, talk about why is it going to be exciting? What are you going to get out of it? Sometimes, we talk about how it aligns to business value, and how that benefits you and the corporation. So things like that. But, sometimes it's just a lot of fun when we get to do cool projects. Like, I think one of my most recent projects that I did was, we launched this global change of our baggage system, and it's pretty cool, pretty awesome. And obviously learning is a part of that. And I got to make a whole bunch of really cool, trailers and teaser videos. And I mean, for me, because normally, we're sitting in the office, so we're sitting behind a desk, and we're like, trying to, put this together. But, going into video shoots and doing all that kind of stuff, that's also part of, for me, that's a fun, that's a perk. Some people think it's extra work, but I enjoy that.
Yeah, I do too, especially when you're creative. It's fantastic. We've got a young lady called Razor, who I need to acknowledge. She says, Dubai represent, inspiring to see someone from the UAE on here. Did you register as a freelancer here in the UAE? I'm interested in learning how is that, what it's like there. Yeah, so Razor, hello. I'm so happy you're here because you do tune in a lot, and I'm so glad to see you back. And yeah, there you go.
Okay, cool. So Reza, super awesome question, and I know where she's coming from just because it's a little more strange here that if you have a full-time job that you are doing something on the side. Let's just say it's not very common, and if it is, like, people don't talk about it. Like, honestly, people just don't talk about it. So Reza, for me, I set up something super simple online. It's very straightforward, and funny enough, the 3 or 4 clients that I have at the moment are all through word of mouth. So these are people that I've had a chance to work with in the past, and they left, the organization I was with, and they moved somewhere else, and they kind of knew the kind of work that I could do. So they reached out to me on, smaller e-learning projects, smaller videos, animated stuff, cool stuff like that. I have sort of signed an MOU with a company that actually does have a proper trade license, to do DED, so Dubai Economic Development Activities. So whenever I need to do sort of a transaction, I go through them. just because, it's official, you get the tax invoice and all that stuff. But hey, let's connect. Happy to talk to you a little bit more.
James, he also said the model of an integrated stack of marketing assets to advertise and build awareness is a sound one, Cath. Us learning professionals need that marketing mindset. Yeah, it's just, I think it's so important, right? Sometimes you can do really fun, gimmicky things as well. I did the project that I won a couple of awards for recently, the Fallout. It was a podcast. It was a hybrid learning podcast. And they were talking about putting headphones on people's desks, So they layered it. They were showing the trailer for the Fallout up on the big screens around the business. They had it on their intranet. I gave them loads of assets and things for them to really advertise it. And, headphones, and they did a load of things internally so that you can do things that are tangible. You can give them something like that. What you said before about business objectives, that's where I think the really exciting thing is, to actually be able to have posters, for example, that can go up on all of the cork boards around the business. Of course, we're now remote, so let's think of our cork board as our intranet, or our, whether it's a learning experience platform, and just, do as many campaigns as you can around that, whether it's working with the IT department and getting a screensaver made, for some big companies, they do manage things like that. So I think there's so many opportunities that we can use these to reinforce big learning projects that go out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think when I want to get a little bit of inspiration, I always, and it's a good hack. Anyone can do this. So I go to YouTube, and I normally look at Apple, recently Peloton, which is that bicycle.
Yeah.
And I've also been looking, and what I do is I just type their name and I type the word support.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of inspiration for even creating instructional content just by looking at their marketing content, because I'm like, it almost inspires you, like, oh, by the way, you can sort of move the graphic in that way, or we can create something that is 60 seconds but it's going to look gorgeous and simple. And
Yeah.
I love, so Apple did a whole series on the Apple Watch, and like, how
Yeah.
to set a reminder on it, how to track your health. And I absolutely love that. In fact, I've used those set of videos when I went in for internal consultation, to be like, hey, would you like something like this, for that new system that we're about to go with? So, something as simple as that. There's a lot of stuff out there that can, inspire us and, get us thinking. I I don't know about it, but Kath, when you're on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
And your LinkedIn feed, for me, it's really interesting because I feel like every fourth post of mine is a promoted post. And sometimes I just stop and look at the promoted post. And I mean, I might be interested in what, they're offering or selling, but
Yeah.
I get inspired by like the language that they're using, the imagery, what they're using to try and sell it to me, because I feel like I can translate that internally. Like, this is stuff that's inspiring. I know it sounds really weird, but it's all about gaining inspiration from anywhere that you can look.
It's absolutely not weird though. It's exactly the way that I work. I think someone's actually invested money to invest this marketing campaign. What is it? I'll even go so far to kind of re-engineer it a little bit. So I might download the image. I'll go, oh, that's an animated GIF. That looks really nice. That's effective. What size is that? I look at all different things like that. What color combinations? What's the speed? So have they got one page that transitions to another page that just transitions back? All these different things. I think this is how we all should be looking at things. Like you said, these adverts that are incredibly successful, I even take little bits from that and I say, okay, look at the humor. Like everything doesn't need to be serious. We're so serious in L&D. you know, and it drives me crazy. You know, I think the thing that I've got out of COVID, the one thing that I've learned is that everyone's human. I mean, I haven't been on a Zoom yet with anyone who's taken me to the toilet with them, but you know, we're all a little bit more casual. You know, I'm casual anyway, but you know, we're all casual. I've got dogs running around. I've got cats fighting with dogs, cats fighting with cats, all kinds of crazy. I don't have any screaming babies, but we've all become a little bit more relaxed with one another. We see this is everyone's working from home, and I hope that we can lighten up a little bit, because we are so serious in L&D, and taking some of these best practices from these huge companies is, yeah.
No, I see what you're saying, because one thing that COVID definitely has brought about is a tolerance and acceptance to
Yeah,
everyday situations, like something as silly or something as humorous as you told me, like a dog or cat running around in the background. It's funny. I actually had to come into this room, close the door, because they're vacuuming in the other room, and it's crazy loud. And they just barged in. And I was like, "No, go away! I have a video call. I can't I can't have you vacuuming here." So I mean, you know, it's cool.
go
I
ahead.
think it's nice. No, I think it's just what you were just echoing what you were saying about the fact that it's all about COVID having brought about that sense of humor, or really that acceptance and tolerance towards that. And I do feel that translates well when it comes to learning. I think it's, again, it also matters back to that audience persona, because if you've got people that can take a joke or get a joke, or are because you've got, like, and especially with if you think about larger corporations, and I'm sure you've worked with some, and you can
Yeah,
probably vouch for this. You've got people that are on an extreme end that wouldn't really get the joke. When they're
yeah,
looking at learning, they're looking at it as this is the truth, and you don't joke with the truth. It's almost
yeah,
like you get that you get that kind of that individual, and it's really about appealing to the masses. So I feel like when I'm working on something, I really do try and understand, walk around, try and talk to as many people as I can. Sometimes people are like, "Why are you doing this?" And I tell them that it's important. It's important to figure out who your people are and who you're designing for, because uh, and there was once I what I did is I actually took someone from active duty, and I was like, "Hey, would you mind being in the learning? Like, I want you to be teaching, or rather you to be telling the story in the training to your people, because I think they would love it if it's best from you, addressed to them." And initially everyone was like, "This is a really stupid idea. Why are you doing this?" I'm like, "It's gonna work, because they see each other as trusted advisors." And it
yeah,
just makes sense that one advisor is telling another advisor, "Hey, these are the 5 things that we need to know now, because it matters for the 10 things that we deliver." It's straightforward.
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I don't know. We got to be okay with doing these things.
We really do. And I think that creates a lot of a buzz behind a course as well. When people have seen, when people have got involved, and also when they, they've got involved and they see themselves in the training as well. That's super exciting. James has also just said, we used a pop art culture theme for our learning campaign to embed service habits and behaviours. The frontline selected the visual design treatment and really owned their learning journey over an 8-month window. The movement in metrics was off the chart. Yeah,
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah. It's great when the learners can actually choose to, or can have some involvement in the choices that we make in L&D. And
Mhm.
these metrics are really important. I mean, I don't know what you think about this, but I think even for businesses to think about, um, maybe too hard, but how can we actually advertise to the public some of the things that we're doing, you know, whether
Absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
in social media campaigns. I kind of believe that they they should be aligned. A lot of this should be a lot of these campaigns should be aligned with one another, you know?
I agree. I agree. So one of my freelance clients that I'm working with right now, it's still pretty weird, like when I say that, because I feel like I'm still getting into like, oh my God, I have freelance clients. Anyway, so one of my freelance clients that I'm working with right now, they wanted something for COVID, straightforward and simple. They were looking to create something, and they already had run internal awareness about COVID, but what they were really looking for was things that they could promote on their Yammer page and their sort of internal social media.
Yeah.
So it took me about a day or two just to get onto some Zoom calls with some people just to talk about, hey, what's changed. And a lot of people had a very similar sort of approach that they're like, not a lot has changed. It's just that, we've just become more aware of things to do to be safe. And I
Yeah.
sort of went with that. I latched onto that and I was like, that's going to be almost sort of the starring role in, the COVID campaign that we're going to run for you guys. And, it's going to tie back to the learning they already created. But, how can I sort of leverage those conversations into that? And they use it for their, sort of internal social media. And I loved it. I thought it was super straightforward and simple. Again, for me, I really do like to try and connect with who the people are and try and get it from them. It's almost like there's a lot of content that you can source just from the source itself. It's people are always surprised. They're like, you've got to play more of that active role, but I feel that if you collaborate and you're willing to listen, you're going to get a lot of information out of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And even thinking about that, you're making my head just go lots of ideas. Um, you know, it'd be really interesting as well to consider how can we market after someone has done a course, to even talk, how they say, if you don't understand something, if you don't understand it, how can you explain it? How are you going to explain
Yeah,
it to another?
yeah,
You can't do that. So to
absolutely.
actually be able to interview learners even after they've done training and say, what did you get out of this?
Yeah.
So really the sky's the limit with the things that you do.
Testimonials.
Yeah.
Well, testimonials after they've had a chance to implement. I think more along those lines. I feel like I worked on a project once where we did do that, and that was primarily because it was sort of a training that we were working on for a couple of months, and then the
Yeah.
idea was that we were going to do a conference,
Mm.
and really what we wanted to do in that conference was to sort of highlight a few individuals that really felt something positive after they went through the training, and that's where we did like a whole series of testimonial videos. And what was really cool was that the amount of people that wanted to volunteer to be on camera. So when you put out like an internal memo saying, hey, do you want to star in our upcoming XYZ, and people get excited. They're like, oh yes, absolutely, like why not? And what we like to do is something cool is that we like to so when we have somebody in the studio, we'll take like extra photo shoots for them they can use on the side. But like, I mean, we just try and make it fun, and that's spot on. So I completely agree with you.
It's kind of hard to say to someone, sexual harassment or something like that. It doesn't need to be compliance. It could be just hospitality, or there's lots of conversations now about diversity and inclusion and things like that. And say, what do you think about, just to see people kind of stumbling over their words that they don't really understand, even terms like diversity, inclusion, what it means. I think there's companies that can have a lot of fun. We call them Vox Pops. Here's Cara North. She's giving us lots of love. Hi, Cara. Things like Vox Pops, where you've kind of got an interviewee kind of saying, what's your thoughts on this? Or, is there anything that's happening right now? There's the sky's the limit with what you could ask. And then to even ask them after the course and, what has this got you thinking about? I think that's a great way for others to learn from each other as well. That's just one example, it's
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, Cara, get involved here if you want. We're talking about marketing new courses, and I know you'll have lots of ideas in this as well. So, we've
Kara's
got.
a pro. Kara's a pro.
I know. Um, and and James is saying here, and it's true. It comes back to your idea of evaluation. If a participant understands it and can explain it and teach a peer, yeah, it's so much more powerful than a quiz.
100%.
Yeah, but we are in this mind. Well, I try and be very careful with the projects that I take on, Mudassir, because I can only take a certain amount on a year. So those kind of, when someone comes and says, I need something fast and, it doesn't need to be great, it's not often that I will take something like that on. People are generally wanting something quite innovative, quite different. And I can convince them that, look, a summative assessment, right? Don't do that. It's just horrible. Put formative assessments throughout, and they won't even feel like they're doing assessments. It will be part of the experience. Let's consider doing stuff like that, Yeah, it's just any way that we can make this a little bit more engaging. So we've got Cara saying, great convo. Compliance courses are a great place to market and be creative in courses. Absolutely. We've got the one and only Thomas McDowell. I've always found sharing short interviews on person experiences have huge impacts with learners, much more than slides and quizzes. Yeah, I agree. Roll with the formative.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's like the name of the next Dr. Dre, I reckon. Is that your phone ringing? Hello? What to say? Go and get it.
I forgot about the phone line.
My phone rang for the first time in a year. Go. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, Cara, it drives me absolutely bananas when people just want, summative assessment at the end. So we're talking a little bit, guys, about marketing. Okay.
Mhm.
Tips for marketing new courses. What kind of things have you guys done? That's a bored person calling, wanting some creative learning experiences. That is true.
Could have been. It could have been. Yes.
Did you answer it? Who was it?
Honestly, it just went to voicemail. Probably get it later. I forgot about the phone line.
Funny.
Simple stuff.
Yeah,
So I think when it goes to sort of marketing new courses, yeah, guys, I think for me, I try and look around as much as I can for inspiration. Because when I've already figured out the learner persona, I know that now I need to put together the learning journey. A lot of that is stuff that you want to do before and after. So definitely, if we have the capacity and if, this is something that the customer is really keen on, of course, we want to build something towards the end, like cool stuff like testimonials and things like that. But I think a lot of the stuff that we can do beforehand, I get inspiration from wherever I can look. So, think of LinkedIn ads, think of, popular and super awesome brands like Apple, and just I try and get inspired by whatever they're doing. And obviously we try and come up with things on our own as well. Sometimes it's cool when you just talk to the business. There's a lot of creative people that are subject matter experts. They just don't know it. And it's your job to sit with them to try and figure out, hey, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Like we can bring your idea to life. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I get a lot of my inspiration from. I recently attended sorry.
No, go on. I was gonna show some examples of where people can go to get more inspiration as well. Keep going, and I'll show in a minute.
Absolutely. Okay, I was actually going to refer to a document as well. I attended a session in Learnerpalooza, no plug, but it was cool. I did a session with Cara, and I attended a session where they talked specifically about learning journeys and campaigns. And I have a document that I think what I'll try and do is after yours, Kara. Oh my God, Kara, I'll share it with you after. I'll let you share your screen first.
Are you sure?
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. I have to find it.
Well, I just, I mean, James was just mentioning here, you know, posters, infographics, clickable ads, he likes the idea of the trailer. Think about how Adele marketed 25, you know. I mean, absolutely, James, you're spot on. I mean, I'll show you what I look at. I'm just going to share my screen.
Please.
Okay, so companies like Envato Elements. Now, I also, Envato also own Placeit. Now, I'm mentioning these because sometimes people don't have the, you know, they don't have the resources in-house to be able to make really nice looking stuff. So I worked at Victoria Police quite a long time ago, 2011 to 13, actually 2009 to 13. And in the police academy, we would really use templates like this. I mean, we went to Video Hive, which is you know, these are all premium
Absolutely. Templatized
templates.
content. Yep, yep.
Yeah. Now, Envato Elements is essentially content from Video Hive that is on a subscription basis. And I think it's brilliant, right? And
Absolutely.
there's so many different ideas that you can take and use to market content. You know, Placeit is the next level down. It's going to give you less control. You know, here you're still going to need some tools to do things. Placeit, you can pretty much do stuff without tools, right? So
I think
you
it's
can
more
see.
is it more for rapid? I feel like that looks like more rapid.
This is really rapid, yeah, but you're really quite restricted with things. But, you know, if you wanted to get a poster, you know.
Okay.
Let's see what comes up. Right. So, you know, you can do this without having Adobe After Effects, for example.
Absolutely.
Or, sorry,
Absolutely.
Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. You know, you can literally just click on, you know, let's say you're wanting to do a really cool poster like this abstract thing here. On it. Come on.
We have waiting music.
I know.
Music.
You know, so let's say you want a really cool poster and you don't have the talent in the house. You know, this kind of thing's fun where you can see here how constrained it is.
Yeah. It's all templatized. You just have to click and choose.
Yeah, so it's saying what kind of design do you want in there, right? Yeah, my computer's obviously not liking this at all. Oh, there you go. You know, so you can do different things. You can change your fonts, you know. You've got all these like different kinds.
Is it like a freemium?
Is it free?
Oh no, like a freemium where like it's free where you can sort of play with it, and then once you feel it's ready, you sort of pay a small fee to download. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. You can either subscribe to it or you can download per item. So if I try and download this,
yeah, there you go.
You can buy the design for $2.95 or you can subscribe, you know. So you've got this kind of thing that you can go, obviously, you know, you've got YouTube templates, you've got, honestly, so many things, even social media. You know, if you're not great at social media and you want some kind of templates that you can put on your intranet and things like that, that look good, You know, if we have a quick look here for Facebook posts, let's just see what comes up.
That's interesting. So I use Canva a lot. I feel like Canva is really good for sort of that quick, rapid,
Absolutely.
here's something fun, here's something simple. Oh, but this is nice. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, you get a lot of ideas from here. Yep, yep.
Yeah. So, you know, there's loads of places. Canva here is great as well. You know, if you're actually wanting a video, let's say we go, what's it called? Like a news indent or something like that. No, maybe not indent, news. Let's just say.
Uh,
Yeah, so you know, if you
okay.
wanted to do something really fun that was like,
Yeah,
you know, nightly
yeah,
news, or and you know, you could go crazy with this stuff
yeah,
and create whole campaigns around whether it's
yeah.
health
Like
and
breaking.
safety. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely,
incorporate
absolutely.
parts of the course into something that's fun that people can relate to. You know, could be a
Uh,
scenario that's in your course. Put it in one of these and stick it up on the computer in the you know, or put it on your intranet, and it'll show
Absolutely.
how it ties in, how it's a real world problem. So I'm just giving examples of where I would go. You can
Mhm,
see here.
mhm.
So these are
Yeah.
the kind of things I think they just make things realistic. Um, what was the tool that you were going to suggest, Mudassir?
Well, there was this document that essentially one of the presenters in the session that I attended, and I thought it was really cool because a lot of these things are things that I was already kind of doing, but I just thought super cool that someone actually had the thought to put it together into a really nice sort of templatized format. Um, I'm gonna attempt to share my screen, and I
Okay,
know it might go into that infinity loop, but I'm hoping it doesn't. So
okay,
give me just a second. Let's give it a
that's all
shot.
right.
All right, share screen. Doop doop doop. Okay.
I'll put it up when it's ready.
Oh, okay. Okay. Share your entire screen. Yep, that's fine. Okay. Okay.
And I want you to
Share.
remind me, James, how did Adele market 25?
Yeah, we gotta know. Can you
You
see
tell
my
me when
screen?
you're ready. Here we
Oh
go.
yeah. Yep.
Cool. I'll make it full screen so we can see it, okay?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'll do the same.
All right.
Oh, stuff into it. Oh no, that's too zoomed in. Ah, this is better. Okay. So
Perfect.
if you so what I thought was really cool about this was that oh, it's these guys, Amp Creative. I can't remember their name, but the lady who presented, but it was really, really nice. And it was about, really talking about when we look at, what do we want the learner to see? So what are we focusing on when it comes to, do we want it to be about advocacy, engagement, awareness? So I just thought it was really cool.
Awesome. So this is a campaign. So this is what people are thinking about when I've got their website up here. I'm just having a
Oh,
quick look at it.
perfect.
Yeah. So they obviously use this as part of their you know, as part of a big part of their offering.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think what was really nice is that I do remember the lady who was presenting. She was actually encouraging everyone to really think about some of the campaigns that they've even worked on in the past, or something that could have been planned better, and just really relook at what you would sort of put in here to help you plan better for a future one. She talked about how you've got to templatize your templates. So if
Yeah.
you put in some time and effort to really fill out something as simple as this, you're really giving yourself a better opportunity to do something better next time around, and you'd be able to do it much faster because you've kind of already sort of built what you want to know with one, and it's about maybe tweaking it when you're looking at another campaign. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm happy to share the PDF with anybody that wants, or Kath, I can send it to you.
If you want to share it, I'll put it in the footnotes in the in the
Perfect.
description so people can download it.
Okay. Oh,
James has also said, sent through the 3 marketing lessons from Adele. So
ooh.
let's have a look at that, shall we?
Oh no. How do I stop the stop screen? Okay.
That's okay. So thanks for sending that through, James. So I haven't seen this before, so let's have a look. So she teased fans with a short intro to Hello. Okay. Released Hello as a free single. Partnered with prominent people to market her album. Oh, I did see this. It was hysterical.
It
Did
was
you
so
see
good.
this?
All the drag queens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really
And
cool.
people were like, nah, that's not Adele. So here you go. She was on Jimmy Fallon. Yeah. It's really, really interesting. I'm going to show you another one that I thought was brilliant. It was a Channel 4, which is a British TV channel, and it was Channel 4, and it was What Would Barry Do?
Oh.
And I actually want to try and get them on to talk to them about it, because it's absolutely brilliant, right?
Ooh.
And they did a health, safety, and well-being course, Channel 4. And what they did was they used a Barry White impersonator, right? Impersonation band or whatever, or cover band, sorry. Okay. And let me play a little bit of it.
Sure.
Tell me if you can hear it.
I can hear it. Well, it's lagging. I mean, it's loading, but I can hear it.
Ah.
It's teasing us.
It is teasing us.
Hey there, I'm Barry. I've been accused of caring way too much. Spending all my time thinking about safety. But I know that bad things can happen.
Okay.
But I know that bad things can happen, even to good people. That's why I want to grab it.
Anyway, I'll put the link in.
Please.
Tom saw it as well. He says, What Would Barry Do? Was one of the best e-learning campaigns ever seen, right? So what they've done is they said our music video and campaign successfully changed behavior across Channel 4. Accidents are down, calls to the health and safety help desk are up, and 90% of colleagues reported better awareness of their responsibilities. What would Barry do is now the question when it comes to health and safety, right? Brilliant. And I just absolutely loved that they had a bit of fun with it. And if I just kind of drag, now it's going to take forever to load. Oh, here's some examples. This is just showing kind of how they went around filming it. Yeah. You know,
good collage. Yeah.
Look at this. These are all the different marketing tools.
This is gold. This is gold, you guys. This is brilliant. I'm under a rock. I never heard of this, man. But I mean, I've only seen 21 seconds, and I love it. I'm already sold. I'm gonna watch all of it after we're done with this. Like, this looks. Don't hesitate. That brilliant.
Right, and the thing is, he's singing it, and if you can imagine, like Barry White, how sexy and cool he is, you know. Yeah. And so his language is like pretty humorous, do you know what I mean, through it. And yeah, I love it. And the tune is going round and round in my head all day. It's really fun and memorable. And I just love this kind of thing. I mean, yeah, they are very lucky because they're working with a client like Channel 4 who do have a sense of humor, etc. But I don't see any reason why we can't be following suit and doing different things
Absolutely.
that are engaging like this.
It's really about translating it. Oh, we can keep each other's support.
Anyway, I'll put the link in the description. I just think it's absolutely brilliant. But these kind of things just, they kind of tickle my pickle, you know. They make me laugh.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. I think, you know, you're right. When you speak with your client, it really does make a big difference. And if there's someone that's willing to, be creative and let you have that conversation where, they're willing to sort of open up any book and any conversation, that'll be brilliant. And that's a really good example.
So this is a company that does a lot of media comms. Okay. And this is another thing that I'd really recommend looking at. You know, I'm not saying don't look at e-learning companies, but what I'm saying is look broader, you know, look at how media are doing it. And I actually feel like our industries are really starting to merge into one another, you know?
Spot on. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like if I sat in and listened to a webinar on, sales marketing, or if I went into a webinar on, Instagram growth strategies, like I would be super interested, because the things that they would be talking about, when they would be talking about engagement, when they would be talking about, conversion, when they'd be talking about those things, those matter in e-learning too. Like those things matter in everything that we're doing when it comes to how we're putting together our content and really thinking about, the platforms that they're going to live on. I'm curious, Cath, what do you think about our LMSs? So, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you've worked with your fair share of LMSs. Do you feel that they play a big part or a small role when it comes to, bringing that awareness? Because I know that most of us use LMSs to really track and then, send those expiration notifications, or, that, hey, this is due, you make sure you do it. But I feel like LMSs could do so much more for us, like the way that marketing tools do,
And actually, James, are you still at Obvious Choice? Because I know you were at Obvious Choice. James works for a really interesting, or worked at least for a really interesting company in Melbourne that, didn't just use language like, learning. They talked about learning ecosystems. So it's really looking at the big picture of learning. It's not just an LMS and this and that. It's actually bringing everything together. It's working with businesses to go, okay, so here's your social learning stream. And I may be saying it wrong. I'm not 100% down on it, because it's not something that I've done a lot with. But I feel that there's a lot of challenges out there. My wife's got a business, a disability business, and we've got, James is still with Obvious Choice. Thank you, James.
Is it called Obvious Choice?
Yeah, he works for a company called Obvious Choice.
That's brilliant. And well done to them on naming. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. And, for the likes, for our little company, we're using Talent LMS for all the compliance training, etc. But then we've just switched over to Currents, which is part of the G Suite. It used to be Google Plus, and it basically is like Yammer, okay, but it's part of G Suite now.
Yep.
And that way, now we have a platform that we can do all of our, I can do social media campaigns, and I can do I can have a lot more fun. Without having that, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it with the LMS. I was working with one platform, and I was having to advertise everything via email. I built a an intranet on Notion, you know, so I'm using all these different platforms. I have to say that I feel like the traditional LMS, God help me for saying this, is really dead. You know, it's really learning experience platforms now that I think are the way, you know, and I know that there are great ones out there. I had last week Danielle on from Thrive Learning. And what I'm
that was a
trying
good one.
to do is even the likes of James. I want people like James and different vendors out there who've got different ideas. And I want to get them on and to talk to them and to, you know, just so we can enrich, you know, so we can just learn so much more about what people are doing out there. And we can work out, you know, what's going to be the best route for us. Because I think, certainly as a freelancer, if I had sat with Cara North, rest in peace, LMS, you know, but honestly, I feel like if I was to reach out to James independently and say, hey, James, can you tell me a little about learning ecosystems? You know, he might be going, what the hell do you want to know? You know, you're a freelancer. At least me reaching out and saying, look, I've got this YouTube channel and I'm trying to have conversations in which we can talk about different concepts. And, you know, it's really about upskilling learning designers and getting them to think about new things that they weren't aware of before, you know? So,
absolutely. I think,
you know,
every time that we engage with people, especially on the vendor side, I feel like there's always something that I can learn from.
yeah,
Especially when it comes to conversations that I need to have internally. So obviously you've got a lot of that freelance gig going on, so you know that, you know, when we have those conversations with people, they want to know what's awesome, what's different, what's new. And I completely agree with you. If we're connected with different people that are providing cool stuff, it helps that arsenal. Like, we're building that arsenal of, like, knowing what to say and things and how to connect them. I remember I was watching one of the earlier clips that you made. I forgot which session it was, but, you know, like, the awesome importance of sort of looking outside learning, and I think it was looking at gaming. And
yeah.
I absolutely loved the idea, and I sort of started watching, you know, how Twitch streams are done, and you know, some simple stuff. And I was like, these guys are thriving. Like, they figured it out. Like, we're way behind. Like, these people have figured it out, how to make it fun, how to make it engaging. They figured it
So
out. Like,
what we're
honestly.
using right now, schools are using Discord, right? Schools are
Yeah.
using Discord because LMSs are not working for them. It's killer.
I love,
No,
and Kara still there, says rip LMS. I just, it's amazing.
yeah. Thomas said Thrive and Fuse are doing great work in changing what learning platforms can do in terms of campaigns. And I'll also say Learning Pool, because I love Learning Pool a lot. I think what they've been doing has been a game changer. You know, they bought HT2 Labs, which was Learning Locker, and they've incorporated a lot of this great technology into their system. I mean, they've now got chatbots that you can literally go, let's say I just say leave, okay? And it'll say, we've got a course that talks about leave. We've got a PDF. It reads PDFs. We've got a PDF that talks about leave. Here's some stuff on the intranet. It just is like a huge search engine. So instead of you having to kind of go and dig into a course, you know, it's actually searching within everything.
It's beautiful. Oh, there we go. Agree about learn.
No, just James is saying agree about Learning Pool and their campaign functionality. It's just amazing, you know.
I think the closer we can get to mimic how people actually learn, right? So, and I've heard you talk about this as well, where, you know, Google, like, the fact that you and I, like, when we want to look up something, we Google it. So the closer we can get to mimicking that, into how our policies and how our trainings, and how, you know, simple things are there, it makes a big difference. So, you know, for that, Matt, things like chatbots are brilliant. Like, I recently, I was applying for a role, at an organization, and I remember, like, I interacted with a chatbot, a chat bot actually made me fill out the entire application form. It asked me questions about, like things like what are my experiences, and it gave me prompts. It told me that don't forget to use action verbs. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, it was
Mm,
it was a great experience.
really great. I mean, I know Thomas mentioned Thrive. I haven't looked at Fuse, but what was really interesting about Danielle's presentation, when I sat with her and I said, look, like we did before we started this chat, I said, look, Danielle, I want you to talk to me like a learning designer. Don't do a sales pitch. Think of me as someone that if I'm influenced by this, I might be able to go to a client here in Australia. Hey, man, you should check out Thrive. It is amazing. I mean, the back end had functionality like the AI that picked up if someone did a search within the LMS for a term, it will track that. So if there is no content for that, it will say so many people have been searching for these terms in the data in the back. And it's just like, oh, that is so good because it's telling you what people need. For you to be able to go into the back end and go analyze that data, all the searching for content, it's like, yeah, that is exactly, these are the things or you might just have a couple of modules on a specific topic. And when you actually look at the data, you might have hundreds of people searching for it, which tells you that there needs to be more on this,
Absolutely. Another version, elaboration, like an updated something. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, man, data is
And
critical. We don't have the data. We're not making good decisions without it. I completely
no,
agree with you.
and
Completely.
that's why, XAPI is so fantastic as well, because it's just giving us so much more rich data. James is saying, they use deep search.
Mhm.
And yeah, Stream is fantastic. And he just said the ability to track search behavior is enabled using XAPI. Yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic.
I really liked that session. Was it with Devlin? Who spoke about
Definitely,
XAPI? Oh,
yeah,
I was like, dang, like this is the future. This is the kind of stuff that all of us need to be doing and talking about and like mentoring and just really getting out there. Like this is really, really important. Ooh,
see,
Exonify.
there was a thank you, Cara. Axonifying Degreed. I mean, Degreed is another one. I know we're kind of going off topic a little bit, but we're kind of not, because I think there's still, if we have that rich data, I believe that we don't have to be pumping out a lot of courses. We can be doing a lot more marketing
Mm.
campaigns within the business to change behavior. It doesn't always need to be a course. Degreed, I'm talking like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years ago. It's been around for a little while. I remember when I first learned that it will track, you can get it to track anything. Like there was a little Chrome button, I think, or something like that, that you could tag to track that you watched a YouTube video, right? Or you could, I may be wrong, I think this was what it was. You could literally track anything. And as far as a business, you could really start seeing high achievers with the kind of searching and work that they're doing. Devlin, Cara's just called Devlin a goat, right? I'm not sure if that's like an in joke.
Oh no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah,
He's
it's a
not
good thing.
great. He's a goat.
Oh, I forgot what it stood for. Oh my God. I should know these things. It stands for something.
Cara, I missed something. What is a goat? um,
Use it for
oh
basketball players. It's a good thing. Yeah, there you go. Greatest of all time. There we go.
God, I'm old, Cara. You know, I'm actually on the. I'm gonna be soon on the other side of turning 50, and I'm yeah. I used to
Hey,
be cool. I'm now not cool, right? So
Look, don't say that. It's greatest of all time. Yeah, okay, everyone's on about that. Yeah. I feel like I use the word vintage. I'm like, everything vintage has always been cool and will always stay cool.
So I think that there's loads of things that we can do. Yeah, I mean, an LMS. What's your thoughts? Because you asked me the question and I didn't ask you what your thoughts are.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like because even sort of my experience has been, I've always sort of used multiple things. So you've got your LMS, which really is targeted towards making sure that all the records are intact, making sure that the people that need to have their compliance records up to date have their compliance records up to date. But we've always used other products. So, and I think Microsoft has really won the game there. So when it comes to Yammer, when it comes to Teams, we've really leveraged that a lot more. And I think I did a presentation at work, and I talked about sort of social learning and how we learn socially as an organization. And we sort of created the concentric circles. Hang on a second. Let me see if I still have it. Okay, I have it here. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can share the screen with you. It's super simple, but hang on. Let me click another button here. Click another one there. One more. Almost there. Okay. There we go. So it was something as simple as this, right? So we talked about how we sort of socially learn, and what I put right in the core of everything was Teams, because that's how a lot of us sort of learn when it comes to the kind of files and the way that we communicate with each other and how we tag us and make sure that everyone's sort of on top of things. And then you've got sort of WebEx and Zoom that sort of sits along the similar way of how we communicate. And then you've got Yammer, and that's sort of that cool piece around how we are socially engaging with each other. So if something cool that you found out, you're sharing it, you're tagging people. And then of course LinkedIn, which is obviously at an industry level, so that's where you and I connect and where other people connect as well. So I mean, that's something as simple that we made sort of for social learning, just to sort of talk about how that sort of sits within a concentric way of how we learn. Oops, let me hang on. If I do that,
hasn't it been interesting how COVID has really kicked a lot of these companies in the ass to make improvements to their products? The stuff people are asking from Zoom, they've just smashed it in, and obviously Yammer is very similar to Currents, just depends whether you're on the Google side or whether you're on the Microsoft side. Now, James said, think about how to optimize your existing technology stack too. How can you use SharePoint connected to an LRS to get data insights on how easy it is for people to find resources? It's really interesting. And he says, McKinsey have a fascinating research on the amount of time knowledge workers spend looking for resources to do their job. It has a massive productivity impact. It's one of the problems us L&D folk need to help solve. Yeah.
Critical. I'd agree with James 100%. I think the time and effort, and of course, every business unit has different SharePoints. Everyone's got loads and loads of documents. And if you think about some industries more than others are more operational. So it's just every day there's a new regulation. Every day there's something new that comes out. So sometimes it gets difficult. You can't create a training. No way can you create something, just because of how quickly things are changing. And I think one of the ways to combat that is something that we can do that's simple and scalable. So, if you can create a post on a platform where that everyone's going to log in and check in every day, post it there. So let it be Teams, let it be Yammer, let it be wherever. But it's about something that's scalable and quick. And I think that's something that you, Cath, you and I, and I'm sure everyone else in the chat can agree that when we're dealing with customers and when we're dealing with clients, we talk about where do we want that to live? Where do we want the learning to live? And I guess in some weird way, when I say the word learning, I'm not just talking about an e-learning course or a video. I'm talking about performance support tools. I'm talking about PDFs. I'm talking about images. I'm talking about even text in a post. Like I'm talking
Yeah.
about everything. Because like you and I know that all of this sits under the learning journey. All of this matters.
Yeah.
So yeah, James, you're spot on.
And I mean, as far as things that are, mandatory, I think, yeah, you can put it on, you can put it on an LMS if that's what you've got. You've not moved it into another, if you've not got a learning experience platform, it's fine. And LMS is going to be fine. But these other tools that are out there, honestly, I think are giving such a richer learning experience. So we had a suggestion here. What about Google Hangouts? Now, we started using Google Hangouts when we were a small business and we had 10 support coordinators. That was fine. But now we have 70 support coordinators who seem to be asking the same question over and over again. Actually, Hangouts was a game changer for us. So now we have Google Currents. I've been able to set up, just like Teams and Yammer, groups in which they can have conversations within their groups about certain topics. And then those announcements from management, or, whether they're just feel good messages welcoming someone to the team or something like that. Even it could be a new video that's come out here about COVID-19, wearing masks, something like that. It needs to go out straight away to the staff. That's the perfect kind of platform to be able to use it. And it really means that we don't need to, especially when there is a COVID course at the moment, So it's like, okay, now I have to, what do I do? Do I add that in and make them all do the course again? So it gets a bit hard.
Absolutely.
James, post content where the horse is water. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. He's spot on. He is.
It's it's just about being creative now, guys. And like I said, things will change when we go back to the office space, whether people will go back to an office, Are you working out of an office at the moment?
Yes. So it's kind of a blend. And then of course what I also like to do is when I'm freelancing, I also try and funny enough, do it from like a coffee shop or some place where I feel like I'm going to be productive or creative. It sounds we have a whole bunch of libraries here and they're open now. So, like even visiting a space like that.
Yeah. Because, this time last year, if we talked about marketing, we would have been talking about marketing within a building, Now the language that we're using is some of that, but really a lot of it is how can we be creative in a digital sense to market this stuff. Yeah. So I think, Abdul says, I want to go back to the office. I hope we don't go back to the office.
Polar opposites.
And I'm in my office right now, so this is good. But look, I really hope that this conversation we've got you thinking a little bit. We'd encourage you, if you've got any questions, if you're watching this on replay, please write in the comments replay. And if you've got any questions, let us know. We'll answer your questions because Mudassir will keep an eye on the YouTube channel as well. We'll be keeping an eye out. So ask your questions. We'll certainly come in and we'll try and answer your questions. I mean, look, it's really just been about having a general conversation about things. James Stack, I will definitely be trying to get you to set up a meeting and we can talk about learning ecosystems, because I think that is something that is really a very interesting topic, and it's something that I want to refresh my memory on. I know I did a little stint at the Country Fire Authority, and I know you were doing a lot of work with them at the time. So yeah, really, really a very interesting conversation. We hope that you guys have found this interesting. Have we got more comments coming here? Abdul says this was a good session. Thank you, Abdul. I appreciate it. If you like what we're doing, please give us a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'm sure I'm going to get you back, Mudassir, to talk about another topic in the future. So You'll have to just think about what you want to have a chat about. But I appreciate your time. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to spend some time with me and sharing your thoughts on everything. Any last words for everyone?
I think this learning community only grows when we have conversations. So I think it's absolutely important to, be vocal, engage, and a platform like this is incredibly amazing. So yeah, I mean, share more, talk more about it, and we get to better ourselves as a community.
Yeah. So guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I've had a great session with you, Mudassir. It's been a pleasure. We will do this again. And I think for the majority of you in Australia, you'll be, like me, ready to go to bed. If you're in Europe, good for you. It's the middle of the day. If you're in America, I think you're getting up soon, aren't you? I don't know. I don't know what time it is anyway. But thank you for tuning in. And it's been a pleasure. And have an awesome day.
All right. Adios. Take care, guys. Goodbye.